Okay, so I have an idea. If you're a dealer or a local shop owner, you got to get your earmuffs on for a minute. Here it is. Government-backed gold coins available at local banks and ATMs for wholesale prices, really low premiums. You want to sell them back? No problem. Sell them back anytime for spot price guaranteed. Sound crazy? Yeah, probably. So we're going to take a new look at Zimbabwe's gold coin program. Now this is something that they've issued to help fight the impact of hyperinflation, but the obvious problem with that initial launch is that the coins were just way too expensive to be of much use if you consider the typical wages there. There's new information now though that says they'll be issuing fractional gold coins, and since that was the obvious problem with the whole idea to begin with, maybe it's worth taking another look. So to catch up with where they're at right now, officials say that they've sold 4,475 of their 1 ounce gold coins since the introduction last month. Now those coins can be purchased at prevailing spot price plus 5% premium, so each coin costs somewhere in the 1830 to 1850 range in US dollars. And then they are guaranteed by those same banks for spot price if they're sold back. Now the issue here is wages in Zimbabwe. If you consider the typical salary there, it's around $7,000. Again, we're using US dollars. With about $1,355 of that going to income tax, I use their tax brackets, that leaves something like $470 per month. So it would take 4 months of income to buy one of those coins. So just to give you a better sense of what that means, if we were to switch to the US average income, this would be like the central bank here issuing a gold coin that costs $20,000. How many of us would be able to foot that? Now the new information and the reason for the new look is that the Zimbabwe government is now saying they'll be issuing fractional gold coins. There hasn't been any confirmation on premiums, but they've said that they'll have 1/2 ounce, 1/4 ounce, and 1/10 ounce coins available in November. So let's dial in on the 1/10 ounce coin, since that's the one that seemed to make the most sense the last time we looked. That would effectively look like a 1 ounce gold coin here in the United States. Again, if we use typical annual wages in the US, depends on how you look at it. They're between $62,000 and $87,000, depending on whether you use the average or the median. Average is higher. So it's approximately 10 times higher, and that makes it a lot easier to relate to the story since any of us here already has a sense for how expensive a 1 ounce gold coin seems. The part that I don't think many of us here can relate to is the level of inflation that Zimbabwe is seeing right now. We talk about numbers in the 9% range here officially. Let's just say the real numbers are somewhere more like 19%. Zimbabwe's inflation in July was 256%. At the start of the year, the exchange rate between the US dollar and the Zim dollar was 1 to 108. So 1 US dollar was worth just over 108 Zimbabwe dollars. Today it's 1 to 481. That's just a wild change, and I think that it's hard to relate to. And on top of the current issue in Zimbabwe now, most people there don't have to go back very far to find an example of how much worse it could get. If you go back to 2008, it got so bad that prices were doubling every 25 hours. So just imagine that. You wake up the next day and the price on what you were looking at the day prior was now double. In November of 2008, inflation hit 79 trillion %. I had to look at that several times because those zeros are just out of control. You can't even comprehend that, or at least I can't. Those $100 trillion Zimbabwe banknotes that we see floating around, they weren't worth much more than a single Zim dollar would have been the year prior. One of those notes couldn't even buy bus fare. So the utility of gold there will be to allow people to save in a stable currency. And with that context, both current and past, this might seem interesting. The way the coins are offered with the central bank guaranteeing their value at international spot price, it makes them a lot like an international currency, a lot more like the dollar. And I don't know that they'll have much benefit in day-to-day purchases there, but I guess we'll see. So all of this seems great, but the people there already have an option to all of this, really. It's called USD. The gold coin program has been positioned as a bit of a preservation against hyperinflation, but it's also to prevent a total run to US dollars. The people there can and do already use USD as a stable currency. So one of the issues is that it is getting expensive to exchange for dollars based on availability if you believe the news reports, but the government is also trying to preserve their own currency by giving an option that's similarly attractive to using a foreign currency. So what they've done here that's interesting is that the banks are selling and buying the coins and the government is guaranteeing the value at the prevailing spot price. So assuming the government there can be trusted to follow through, gold has no greater risk than any other currency. And actually it seems like a feasible idea. Now if the United States were to offer something similar, gold would seem far more approachable than it is today. We don't have that guarantee here, and conversions need to happen through private businesses or individuals. Now there's an anonymity factor there that would come up for a lot of us here, but I don't think that that would be a consideration for the bulk of the people if they were rushing to pick up an asset that wasn't in the midst of wild inflation or worse. Now, the other part here that I think makes the Zimbabwe strategy interesting is that they've set a 5% premium on the 1 ounce coins. We'll see what it is on Fractional, but that's the other part that makes them harder to think of as a short-term savings model, because in most regions, overcoming that initial premium that you pay when you buy the coins, that typically takes a longer time frame to get ahead of. So to try to give this local relatability again, if we could buy government-backed gold coins at wholesale prices at the same banks that we use for checking or savings accounts, knowing that we could sell them at any time with no real inconvenience, I think the idea of saving in gold would have considerable mass appeal. So that's what's happening in Zimbabwe right now. So even though this program really seems like probably not much more than basic lip service against a huge economic crisis there, maybe they're onto something. My guess is that most governments are probably onto it. They probably understand the potential popularity of a program like this, and maybe that's why they don't offer it, since it could work too well and at the detriment of the local economy, since more people would save and not in the local currency. So let's call it good there. Let us know what you think in the comments, whether you think that this will work in Zimbabwe or maybe even whether it could work here. Now, some of us would probably say that it already works here, even without the extra convenience of buying at a bank, but those wholesale rates would sure be nice. Now, my first thought, because I'm selfish, was that I would love to get fractional coins without crazy premiums. But those 1/10 ounce coins, they're still going to be out of reach for most individuals there, especially with everything they're dealing with. I'd love to see something like that happen here. I don't know how it will work there. Let us know what you think. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.